The crack of a belt against skin echoed through the quiet suburban street, a sound that froze Eli's heart before it shattered. His father's voice, thick with rage, spat the words, "Now you match the life you chose," as Eli stumbled backward, legs burning from the blows. At 19, Eli Carter had never felt so small, curled on the cold garage floor, the place where dreams were supposed to be built, not broken. Eli's world had always been a tightrope walk in Ashwood, Ohio, a town where picket fences hid secrets and church bells dictated morality. He'd known he was gay since he was 12, when stolen glances at his best friend, Sam, made his chest ache in ways he couldn't name. But today, on the eve of the biggest audition of his life, a chance to perform at an LGBTQ theater showcase in Cleveland, his father had found the flyer. The crumpled paper, with its bold rainbow logo, lay discarded beside Eli's bruised legs, a silent witness to the violence of truth. Sam's voice broke through the haze. "Eli, look at me. You're still you." He knelt beside Eli, his dark eyes fierce with loyalty, his hand steady as it rested on Eli's shoulder. Sam, 20, broad-shouldered and soft-spoken, had been Eli's anchor since they were kids trading comic books under the oak tree in Sam's backyard. Now, as Eli's world crumbled, Sam was there, pulling him up, his touch a lifeline. "We're getting out of here," Sam said, voice low but unyielding. "You're not staying in this house tonight." Eli nodded, pain shooting through his legs as he stood, leaning into Sam's strength. The audition was tomorrow, a stage where Eli could finally tell his story through dance, his body speaking truths his voice never dared. But the weight of his father's words clung to him, each bruise a reminder that love, for him, came with a cost. They slipped out the back door, the night air sharp against Eli's skin. Ashwood slept under a blanket of stars, oblivious to the war raging in Eli's heart. Sam's old pickup truck waited at the curb, its engine rumbling like a promise. As they drove toward Sam's apartment, the silence between them wasn't empty, it was heavy with unspoken vows. Eli stared out the window, the town blurring past, and wondered if he'd ever feel safe again. Sam's place was a small, cluttered haven above a bookstore, filled with mismatched furniture and the faint smell of coffee. Eli sank onto the couch, his legs throbbing, each mark a testament to his father's rejection. He saw the flyer. Eli whispered, voice cracking. "He said I was a disgrace, that I'd ruin the family name." Sam sat beside him, close enough that their knees touched, a quiet defiance against the world outside. "You're not a disgrace," Sam said, his voice steady but laced with anger. "You're the bravest person I know." He reached for Eli's hand, fingers intertwining, and for a moment, the pain dulled. Sam had come out to his own family a year ago, facing cold silences but no fists. He'd promised Eli they'd face this together, no matter what. Now, that promise felt like the only thing keeping Eli from breaking. Eli's phone buzzed on the coffee table, his mother's name flashing on the screen. He hesitated, then silenced it. She hadn't stopped his father, hadn't spoken when the belt came down. Her silence hurt almost as much as the blows. "What if I fail tomorrow?" Eli asked, voice barely audible. "What if I'm not good enough?" Sam's grip tightened. "You're enough, Eli. You always have been." He pulled Eli into a hug, and for the first time that night, Eli let himself cry, the tears soaking Sam's shirt. The audition loomed like a beacon, a chance to reclaim his voice, but the bruises on his legs whispered doubts. Could he dance through the pain? Could he stand on a stage and bare his soul to a world that might reject him? As the night deepened, Sam made tea, the clink of mugs a small comfort. They talked until dawn, about the showcase, about dreams of leaving Ashwood, about a future where love didn't demand sacrifice. Eli's legs ached, but Sam's presence was a balm, a reminder that he wasn't alone. The audition was more than a performance, it was a declaration. Tomorrow, Eli would dance, not just for himself, but for every kid in Ashwood hiding who they were. By morning, Eli's resolve had hardened. He looked at Sam, who was already packing a bag with water and bandages for the day. "You ready?" Sam asked, a smile breaking through the worry in his eyes. Eli nodded, the weight of his father's words still there, but lighter now, overshadowed by the warmth of Sam's belief in him. The road to Cleveland stretched ahead, uncertain but full of possibility. The highway to Cleveland hummed under the tires of Sam's truck, the morning sun casting long shadows across the road. Eli sat in the passenger seat, his legs stiff, the bruises pulsing with every heartbeat. He traced the edge of the audition flyer, its creases worn from nights spent dreaming of this momentous chance to dance on a stage that celebrated who he was. The showcase was at the Cleveland Playhouse, a beacon for LGBT youth across Ohio. Eli had choreographed his piece over months, each step a rebellion against the silence Ashwood demanded. His dance was raw, a story of love and pain woven into leaps and spins, set to a haunting piano melody. But now, with his father's words carved into his skin, doubt gnawed at him. What if his body betrayed him? What if the judges saw only his shame? Sam glanced over, his hands steady on the wheel. "You're quiet. Talk to me." His voice was soft, but it carried the weight of someone who knew Eli's silences better than anyone. Eli exhaled, his breath shaky. "I keep hearing him. You match the life you chose. Like being me is something I can just unchoose." Sam's jaw tightened, but his tone stayed gentle. "He's wrong, Eli. You're not a choice. You're a person, and you're incredible." He reached over, squeezing Eli's hand. The touch grounded Eli, pulling him back from the edge of despair. Sam's belief was a shield, but the fear lingered, fear of failing, of proving his father right. They reached Cleveland by noon, the city's skyline a stark contrast to Ashwood's sleepy streets. The playhouse buzzed with energy, young performers milling about, their voices a mix of nerves and excitement. Eli felt out of place, his worn sneakers and faded hoodie no match for the polished confidence around him. Sam, sensing his unease, nudged his shoulder. "You belong here. More than anyone." Inside, the theater was a cavern of possibility, its stage lit with soft gold light. Eli's audition slot was in an hour, leaving him just enough time to stretch and change. In the dressing room, he winced as he pulled on his dance tights, the fabric catching on his bruises. He caught his reflection in the mirror, pale, wide-eyed, a boy carrying too much weight. But Sam's voice echoed in his mind, "You're enough." The warm-up was agony. Each stretch sent fire through his legs. But Eli pushed through, his movements mechanical at first, then fluid as muscle memory took over. Sam sat nearby, his presence a quiet anchor. "You've got this," he said, handing Eli a water bottle. "Show them who you are." Eli nodded, his throat tight. This wasn't just about him, it was about every kid who'd ever been told their love was wrong. When his name was called, Eli's heart lurched. The stage loomed, vast and unforgiving, the judges' faces unreadable in the dim light. He took his position, the piano notes swelling around him. For a moment, he froze, his father's voice clawing at his resolve. Then he saw Sam in the wings, his eyes locked on Eli, unwavering. That was enough. Eli danced. His body moved through the pain, each step a defiance, each leap a cry for freedom. The bruises faded into the rhythm, his story unfolding in arcs and spins. He was a boy who loved, who hurt, who refused to break. The music carried him, and for 3 minutes, he was untouchable, his truth laid bare under the spotlight. When the final note faded, the silence was deafening. Then, applause soft at first, then roaring. Eli stood, chest heaving, tears stinging his eyes. The judges scribbled notes, their expressions neutral, but the audience's response told him he'd done something real. Sam was at his side in seconds, pulling him into a hug. "You were incredible," he whispered, and Eli believed him. Backstage, the high of performing crashed into reality. Eli's legs throbbed, and doubt crept back in. Had he been good enough? Would the judges see past his rawness to the heart of his story? Sam steered him to a quiet corner, handing him a protein bar. "Stop overthinking," he said, a teasing edge to his voice. "You left it all out there. That's what matters." As they waited for the results, Eli's phone buzzed again. His mother. Again. This time, he answered, his voice cold. "Eli, I'm sorry," she said, her words rushed. "I didn't know he'd go that far. Please, come home." Eli's grip tightened on the phone. "Home isn't safe," he said, and hung up. Sam's hand found his, a silent promise that home could be something else, something better. The judges called the finalists to the stage. Eli's name wasn't there, and the sting was sharp, but not crushing. He'd danced his truth, and that was a victory no one could take away. Sam squeezed his shoulder. "This isn't the end. It's just the start." Eli nodded, the weight of the day settling into something like hope. The drive back to Ashwood was quieter, the hum of the truck a steady pulse against the fading adrenaline. Eli stared at the passing fields, the audition replaying in his mind every step, every glance from the audience. He hadn't made the cut, but the applause lingered, a reminder that his story had reached someone, even if it wasn't the judges. Sam broke the silence. "You're disappointed, aren't you?" His voice was gentle, but it cut through Eli's haze. Eli shrugged, his fingers twisting the hem of his hoodie. "I thought, maybe if I was good enough, it'd prove something." To him. To me. He didn't need to say his father's name. Sam knew. It wasn't about proving anything, Sam said, his eyes on the road. "You danced for you, Eli. That's what makes it powerful." Eli wanted to believe him, but the bruises on his legs ached, a physical echo of his father's rejection. He wondered if he'd ever escape that shadow. Back at Sam's apartment, the weight of the day settled in. Eli sank onto the couch, his body exhausted but his mind racing. Sam sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders brushed. "You're staying here tonight," Sam said, not a question but a fact. Eli nodded, grateful for the certainty in Sam's voice. The idea of returning to his father's house, with its cold silences and locked doors, was unbearable. They ordered pizza, the normalcy of it grounding Eli. As they ate, Sam talked about his own dreams studying environmental science, maybe moving to a city where they could be themselves without fear. "We could go together," he said, half joking, but his eyes were serious. Eli's heart skipped, caught between hope and the fear of dreaming too big. That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He lay on Sam's couch, staring at the ceiling, the events of the past 2 days replaying like a looped film. The belt, the audition, Sam's unwavering presence. He thought of his mother's call, her apology that felt too late. He wanted to forgive her, but the hurt was too raw, too tangled with years of her silence. In the morning, Sam found him sitting by the window, watching the sunrise over Ashwood's rooftops. "You're up early," Sam said, handing him a mug of coffee. Eli took it, the warmth seeping into his hands. "I was thinking about the showcase," he said. "Even if I didn't win, I felt free up there, like I was finally me." Sam smiled, his eyes crinkling. "That's what I saw. You were alive, Eli." The words settled into Eli's chest, a small spark of pride. He hadn't realized how much he needed to hear it. But the spark flickered when he thought of home, of the father who saw his truth as a sin. Eli's phone buzzed again, another text from his mother. "Please, let's talk. I want to understand." He showed it to Sam, who read it with a frown. "What do you want to do?" Sam asked. Eli didn't know. Part of him wanted to run, to cut ties and start over. But another part, small and stubborn, wanted to believe his mother could change. They decided to meet her at a neutral Placia, small diner on the edge of town. Eli's stomach churned as they drove, Sam's hand on his knee a steady anchor. The diner was quiet, its booths worn but warm. His mother, Linda, sat in the corner, her face pale, her hands twisting a napkin. When she saw Eli, her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't stop him," she said as they sat down, her voice breaking. "I should have. I was scared, Eli, but that's no excuse." Eli's throat tightened. He wanted to be angry, to let the hurt spill out, but her remorse was real, raw in a way his father's rage never was. "I don't know if I can come home," he said finally, his voice steady despite the ache. Linda nodded, tears falling. "I know. But I want to try, Eli. I want to learn." Sam squeezed Eli's hand under the table, a silent reminder that he wasn't alone. Eli didn't have answers, but for the first time, he felt like his mother might listen. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was a start. As they left the diner, Eli felt lighter, like a weight had shifted, not gone but bearable. Sam's arm brushed against his, a quiet promise of support. The road ahead was uncertain, but Eli knew one thing: he'd keep dancing, keep telling his truth, no matter the cost. The next week passed in a blur of small victories and lingering shadows. Eli stayed with Sam, the apartment becoming a sanctuary where he could breathe without fear. His legs were healing, the bruises fading to yellow, but the memory of his father's belt was sharper, a wound that time hadn't touched. Each night, he and Sam talked about the audition, about their fears, about a future that felt both impossible and within reach. Eli found himself returning to dance, not on a stage but in Sam's living room, moving to music from an old speaker. It was different now, less about perfection and more about feeling. Sam watched, sometimes joining in with clumsy steps that made Eli laugh, a sound he hadn't heard from himself in days. These moments, small and unguarded, stitched Eli back together. But Ashwood wasn't done with him. Word of the audition had spread, carried by whispers in church pews and grocery store aisles. Eli felt the town's eyes on him when he ventured out, their judgment a weight he couldn't shake. At the local coffee shop, a woman from his father's church stared, her lips tight. "You're that Carter boy," she said, voice low. "Your poor parents." Eli's face burned, but Sam's hand on his back kept him steady. "Let's go," Sam said, guiding him out, his calm a shield against the world's sharp edges. Eli's mother called daily now, her voice hesitant but persistent. She wanted to meet again, to rebuild what had been broken. Eli agreed, but only with Sam there, his presence a buffer against the pain of the past. They met at a park, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot. Linda brought a thermos of hot chocolate, a gesture that felt like an apology. "I've been reading," she said, pulling out a book on supporting LGBT kids. "I want to get this right, Eli." Her efforts stirred something in Eli hope, cautious but real. He told her about the audition, about the freedom he'd felt on stage. She listened, really listened, her eyes wet but focused. "I wish I'd seen it," she said softly. Eli didn't know how to respond, but Sam's quiet smile gave him courage. "Maybe next time," Eli said, the words a bridge he hadn't expected to build. But his father was a ghost that wouldn't fade. Eli learned from his mother that he'd left for a retreat, a vague term that likely meant a church camp to reinforce his beliefs. The thought of his return tightened Eli's chest. He couldn't go back to that house. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Sam, sensing his fear, made a plan. "We'll find our own place," he said one night, scrolling through apartment listings on his laptop. "Somewhere new. Somewhere ours." The idea sparked something in Eli, a vision of a life unburdened by Ashwood's judgment. But money was tight. Sam worked at the bookstore, and Eli's part-time job at a diner barely covered his share of groceries. Still, they dreamed, pinning listings to a corkboard, each one a step toward freedom. Eli started choreographing again, this time for a community center's open mic night, a smaller stage but one that felt safe. The night of the open mic arrived, crisp and clear. Eli's piece was simpler this time, a solo dance to a soft acoustic song about resilience. Sam helped him rehearse, his feedback gentle but honest. "You're telling a story," Sam said. "Make them feel it." Eli nodded, his nerves buzzing but his heart steady. This wasn't Cleveland, but it was a chance to be seen, to be himself. The community center was packed, a mix of locals and college students, their faces open and curious. Eli took the stage, his legs still tender but strong enough to carry him. The music started, and he moved, his body weaving a tale of pain and hope, of love that refused to bend. The audience was quiet, then rapt, their applause warm when he finished. For the first time, Eli felt Ashwood might have room for him, even if just a corner. Afterward, Sam pulled him into a hug, his pride palpable. "You're unstoppable," he said, and Eli believed him. As they walked home under the stars, Eli felt the weight of his father's words lift, just a little. He wasn't free yet, but he was moving toward it, one step, one dance, at a time. The open mic performance marked a shift in Eli. He wasn't whole, not yet, but he was rebuilding, piece by piece, through dance and Sam's unwavering support. The community center's stage had given him a taste of acceptance, a reminder that his truth could resonate beyond his own heart. But Ashwood's smallness pressed in, its whispers growing louder as his father's return loomed. Eli's mother kept reaching out, her efforts clumsy but earnest. She invited him to dinner at a neutral Spoda quiet Italian restaurant outside town. Eli agreed, but only if Sam could come. Linda nodded, her face soft with relief. "I want to know you, Eli," she said over the phone. "All of you." The words felt like a lifeline, but Eli guarded his heart, wary of promises that might break. At the restaurant, Linda was different, less guarded, more open. She asked about Eli's dancing, about Sam, about what it meant to be himself in a town that didn't always understand. Eli answered carefully, his words measured, but her questions felt genuine, not probing. Sam chimed in, sharing stories of their childhood, lightening the mood when Eli's voice faltered. By the end of the night, Eli felt a flicker of trust, fragile but real. Back at the apartment, Sam noticed the change. "You're letting her in," he said, not accusing but observing. Eli nodded, staring at the corkboard of apartment listings. "She's trying. It's more than I expected." Sam's smile was small but warm. "You deserve that, Eli. You deserve people who try." But the shadow of his father lingered. Eli learned he was back in town, silent but present, like a storm waiting to break. Eli avoided the house, but the fear of confrontation gnawed at him. He threw himself into dance, choreographing a new piece for a regional LGBT arts festival Sam had found online. The deadline was tight, but the festival promised a bigger stage, a chance to connect with others who'd faced the same battles. Eli and Sam spent evenings planning, their small apartment filled with music and movement. Eli's new piece was bolder, a duet for him and Sam, a celebration of their bond. Sam wasn't a dancer, but he learned the steps, his determination outweighing his awkwardness. "I'm doing this for you," he said, laughing as he stumbled through a turn. Eli's heart swelled. Sam's willingness to try was love in its purest form. The festival was in Columbus, a 2-hour drive. They saved every penny, skipping coffee runs and eating cheap meals to afford the trip. Eli's nerves buzzed as the date approached, his father's voice a faint echo in his mind. But Sam's presence drowned it out, his quiet strength a reminder that Eli wasn't alone. The day of the festival dawned bright, the air crisp with autumn. Columbus was alive, its streets buzzing with pride flags and performers. Eli felt a pang of belonging, a sense that this was what Ashwood could never offer. Their duet was scheduled for the evening, giving them time to explore the festival. They wandered through art stalls, watched poets and singers, each performance a testament to resilience. When their slot came, Eli's heart raced. The stage was bigger than Cleveland's, the crowd louder, more vibrant. He and Sam took their places, the music swelling a soft, pulsing beat that carried their story. Eli moved with grace, Sam with effort, their bodies telling a tale of love forged in fire. The bruises on Eli's legs were gone, but their memory fueled every step, every lift. The crowd watched, rapt, their applause a wave when the music stopped. Afterward, a festival organizer approached, her eyes bright. "That was powerful," she said. "We'd love to feature you in our outreach program." Eli blinked, stunned. The program connected young artists with communities, offering workshops and performances. It was a chance to make a difference, to reach kids like him. Sam squeezed his hand, his pride palpable. As they drove back to Ashwood, Eli felt different, stronger. Sure, his father's words still stung, but they were losing their power. With Sam by his side and a new opportunity ahead, Eli saw a path forward, one where his truth wasn't a burden but a gift. The festival's offer lit a fire in Eli. The outreach program meant travel, workshops, and a chance to share his story with kids who needed it most. He and Sam spent days planning, their apartment a mess of notes and schedules. Eli's confidence grew, but Ashwood's shadow clung to him, especially when his mother called with news. His father wanted to talk. Eli's stomach dropped. He hadn't seen his father since that night in the garage, the belt's sting still vivid in his memory. "He's been going to therapy," Linda said, her voice hopeful. "He wants to understand. Eli, give him a chance." Eli didn't trust it, but a small part of him, the part that still loved his father, wanted to believe change was possible. Sam was skeptical. "You don't owe him anything," he said, his voice firm. They were in the apartment, the corkboard now pinned with festival flyers alongside apartment listings. Eli nodded, but the weight of family pulled at him. "I need to know if he means it," he said finally. Sam sighed but agreed to go with him, his presence a non-negotiable. They met at a community center, neutral ground. Eli's father, Tom, sat stiffly, his face lined with exhaustion. He looked smaller than Eli remembered, less like the towering figure who'd wielded the belt. "I'm sorry," Tom said, his voice rough. "I was wrong. I didn't understand." The words were a shock, but Eli's guard stayed up. Apologies didn't erase bruises. Tom talked about his therapy, about confronting beliefs he'd held for decades. "I don't get it all," he admitted, "but I don't want to lose you." Eli listened, his heart torn between hope and skepticism. Sam's hand on his knee kept him grounded, a reminder that he had a home, even if it wasn't with his father. "I need time," Eli said finally, his voice steady. Tom nodded, his eyes wet. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was a crack in the wall between them. As they left, Sam squeezed Eli's hand. "You handled that like a champ," he said, and Eli managed a small smile. The meeting hadn't healed him, but it had given him clarity. His worth didn't depend on his father's approval. The outreach program became Eli's focus. He and Sam traveled to small towns, leading dance workshops for LGBT youth. Each session was a mirror of Eli's own struggles, the kid's eyes reflecting his own fear and hope. In one town, a shy teen named Mia shared her story of hiding who she was. Eli choreographed a piece for her, watching her come alive on stage. It felt like healing, not just for her, but for him. Sam was there every step, his support unwavering. They were saving for an apartment now, their dreams taking shape. One night, after a workshop, they sat on a park bench, the stars bright above. "I'm proud of you," Sam said, his voice soft. Eli leaned into him, their shoulders touching. "I couldn't do this without you," he replied, and meant it. But Ashwood wasn't done testing him. A local pastor, emboldened by gossip, preached against Eli's lifestyle, his words reaching Eli through a friend's text. The town felt smaller, its judgment sharper. Eli's resolve wavered, but Sam's voice cut through. "They don't define you," he said. "You're doing something bigger than Ashwood." Eli clung to that, pouring his energy into the next workshop. He and Sam created a group piece, a celebration of identity that brought tears to the audience's eyes. Each performance chipped away at Eli's fear, replacing it with purpose. He wasn't just dancing now, was building a legacy, one step at a time. As winter approached, Eli felt a shift. His father's apology, his mother's efforts. The kids he was helping, they were pieces of a puzzle. Not complete, but forming a picture. He and Sam were planning a move to Columbus, a city that felt like a fresh start. The road ahead was long, but Eli was ready, his heart full of love and resilience. Winter settled over Ashwood, the cold seeping into Eli's bones as he and Sam packed for their move to Columbus. The apartment they'd chosen was small but bright, a corner unit with a view of the city skyline. Each box they taped shut felt like a step away from the past, toward a future where they could be themselves without apology. Eli's work with the outreach program grew, each workshop a reminder of why he danced. He met kids like him, their stories echoing his own rejection, fear, but also hope. In one session, a boy named Jamie confessed he'd never told anyone he was gay. Eli shared his own story, the bruises and the stage, watching Jamie's eyes light with recognition. "You're not alone," Eli said, and the words healed them both. His relationship with his mother strengthened, their weekly calls a bridge over the chasm of the past. Linda joined a support group for parents of LGBT kids, her questions growing more thoughtful. "I'm proud of you," she said one day, her voice thick with emotion. Eli believed her, the words settling into the cracks of his heart. His father was a slower journey. Tom attended therapy, sending occasional texts awkward but sincere. Eli responded cautiously, not ready to trust but unwilling to close the door. One evening, Tom asked to meet at the community center again. Eli agreed, Sam by his side, his presence a steady anchor. Tom was different this time, less guarded. He spoke of his own childhood, of a father who taught him rigidity over love. "I'm trying to unlearn it," he said, his voice breaking. "I want to know you, Eli." The words were a lifeline, but Eli's wounds were deep. "It'll take time," he said, and Tom nodded, accepting the boundary. The move to Columbus was a whirlwind. Eli and Sam unpacked in their new apartment, the space already feeling like home. They hung the rainbow flag from the festival, a symbol of their journey. Eli's dance classes filled up, his reputation growing among local youth groups. Sam enrolled in community college, his environmental science dreams taking root. But Ashwood's pull lingered. A letter arrived from the pastor, condemning Eli's work, calling it a corruption of youth. Eli's hands shook as he read it, the old fear resurfacing. Sam took the letter, tearing it in half. "This doesn't define you," he said, his voice fierce. "You're changing lives, Eli. That's what matters." Eli took that to heart, channeling his anger into a new Paisea group performance for the Columbus Pride Festival. He recruited kids from his workshops, their energy infectious. The piece was bold, a celebration of survival, each dancer telling their own story. Sam helped with logistics, his quiet competence a perfect complement to Eli's passion. The night of Pride was electric, the city alive with color and music. Eli's group took the stage, their movements a tapestry of pain and triumph. Eli danced at the center, his body a beacon of resilience. The crowd roared, their love a balm for every wound. Sam watched from the sidelines, his eyes shining with pride. Afterward, a local arts council offered Eli a grant to expand his workshops. It was a validation of everything he'd fought for, a chance to reach more kids, to build a community where no one felt alone. He and Sam celebrated with cheap wine in their apartment, toasting to new beginnings. As Eli looked out at the city lights, he felt the weight of his father's words finally lift. He wasn't just surviving anymore, was thriving, his love for Sam and his passion for dance lighting the way. Ashwood was behind him, but its lessons were part of him, a reminder of how far he'd come. Columbus was a new chapter, its pulse a stark contrast to Ashwood's stillness. Eli and Sam settled into their apartment, the walls now lined with photos moments from the festival, workshops, their first night in the city. Each image was a testament to their resilience, a reminder that love could build as much as it could break. Eli's workshops grew, drawing kids from across Ohio. He taught them to dance, to tell their stories through movement, each class a step toward healing. One girl, Sarah, reminded him of himself, quiet, guarded, but fierce when she danced. "You make me feel like I can be me," she said after a session, her words a gift Eli carried close. His mother visited often, her support no longer tentative. She brought homemade cookies, sat in on workshops, her presence a quiet apology for the years of silence. One day, she handed Eli a photo from his childhood, a boy in a too-big leotard, twirling in the backyard. "You were always this brave," she said, and Eli's throat tightened, the past softening just a little. His father's journey was slower, but real. Tom attended a workshop, sitting awkwardly in the back, watching Eli teach. Afterward, he approached, his hands fidgeting. "I didn't know you could do this," he said, gesturing to the kids, their laughter filling the room. "I'm proud, Eli." The words were heavy, imperfect but honest. Eli nodded, not ready to embrace, but willing to listen. The Columbus Pride Festival became an annual milestone, Eli's group a highlight. Each year, their performance grew, more kids joining, their stories weaving together. Sam took on a bigger role, managing props and music, his steady presence the backbone of Eli's vision. They were a team, their love a quiet strength that carried them through every challenge. One night, after a long day of teaching, Eli and Sam sat on their balcony, the city humming below. "We did it," Eli said, his voice soft. "We built something." Sam smiled, his hand finding Eli's. "We built a home," he said, and Eli knew he meant more than the apartment. It was the life they'd carved out, the community they'd created, the love that had survived every storm. The past wasn't gone. Eli still carried the scars, physical and not. But they were part of his story, not the whole of it. He thought of his father's belt, of the audition that hadn't gone as planned, of the stage where he'd found his voice. Each moment had led him here, to a life where he could love openly, create boldly, and lift others up. As spring bloomed, Eli prepared for a new projected dance camp for LGBT youth, funded by the Arts Council. He and Sam scouted locations, their dreams growing bigger. The camp would be a haven, a place where kids could be themselves without fear. Eli saw himself in every nervous smile, every hesitant step, and he knew this was his purpose. The first day of camp was chaos and joy, kids spilling across the studio, their energy infectious. Eli stood at the center, Sam by his side, and felt a peace he'd never known. His father's words, "Now you match the life you chose," had once been a curse. Now, they were a truth. Eli had chosen love, courage, and truth, and his life matched that choice, vibrant and unbroken. As the kids danced, their laughter echoing, Eli looked at Sam, his heart full. They'd faced the worst and come out stronger, their love a beacon for others. The bruises had faded, the pain had softened, but the fire in Eli burned bright. He was home, not just in Columbus, but in himself, and that was the greatest victory of all.